Well, good morning, friends. I'm glad to have some people up here with me. It's been feeling pretty lonely lately. Good to have them back from vacation and traveling. We gather in that time of year where Mother Nature's changing her wardrobe, bringing out all the colorful clothes. It's a season of the year that the World Council of Churches has named as the season of creation, as we celebrate the good news of continuing rebirth. So often we think of creation as already created, but it's still being created. Our lives are still being created. The universe is still expanding. New galaxies are being formed. New possibilities await us. Endings give way to beginnings, and death doesn't have the last word. The last word is always healing and beauty and strength and life and connection and more love. And so we come to worship today to be reminded by our ancestors that the force is with us. That spirit of love and life. We gather to deepen our awareness of the divine wisdom within us. The spirit of creation is within us. We're a part of it. We're all one. And of course, Mother Nature's a part of it too, and we're a part of her. Heaven does come to earth. And night does give way to day, and the storms do give way to sunshine, harmony, and peace. So Kathy's going to sing about that now to help us get the scales off our eyes so that we can see that the ordinary is extraordinary, and that every day we are a part of ordinary miracles.
It's not that unusual when everything is beautiful. It's just another ordinary miracle today. The sky knows when it's time to snow. Don't need to teach a seed to grow. It's just another ordinary miracle today. Life is like a gift, you see, wrapped us for you every day. Open up and find a way to give some of your own. Isn't it remarkable? Like every time a raindrop falls, it's just another ordinary miracle today. Birds in winter have their fling and always make it home by spring. It's just another ordinary miracle today. When you wake up every day, please don't throw your dreams away. Hold them close to your heart, because we're all a part of the ordinary miracles. Ordinary miracles. Do you want to see a miracle? Isn't it exceptional that things just work out after all? It's just another ordinary miracle today. The sun comes up and shines so bright and disappears again at night. It's just another ordinary miracle today. It's just another ordinary miracle today.
Thank you. Of course, we're all a part of that miracle. Let's stand and sing a hymn together, written by the Dakota tribe in the United States, years before the white man came. They already knew about God. They knew they were part of the divine. They were created in God's image. And so this was a song they sang in their worship. Great, oh God, are your works, maker of earth and sky. Your hands have sang the heavens with the stars. Your fingers spread the mountains and plains. Lo, at your word, the waters were formed. gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. When the Spirit says clap, you gotta clap right along. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. You gotta move when the Spirit says move. You gotta move when the Spirit says move. When the Spirit says move, you gotta move right along. You gotta move when the Spirit says move. Let's see some of you dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance right along. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Oh, when the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. All right, we give thanks that the Spirit is here. Jesus is in the house. God be with you. Lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks to God. And our new Bible verse of the month from Isaiah, let's say it together. Even the young grow tired and weary, and sometimes stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings as eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. And so we connect to the Spirit here and in the world around us. Mother Nature calling us to be people of respect and kindness and live in awe and gratitude as we sing our hymn, Called by Earth and Sky. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky, precious these waters, endless seas, deep ocean dream, waters of healing, rivers of rain, the washer of again. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky, precious this gift the year we breathe, when born and free, born of the Spirit, blow through this place, our gathering and our grace. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky. one, the heavens declare your glory, your presence, and we are called to come together today to lay aside our burdens for a while and to turn our eyes upwards, to see around us this amazing, beautiful world you've given us and that you are creating and continuing to create, even in the midst of the sorrow and of storms and of what we're doing to Mother Nature. Your grace is there. You are calling us to be a people of hope, a people of faith, a people of love. And so we gather to soak in it today, to soak in your grace, to soak in your love. We pray that your Spirit will find open hearts and minds here. We need you to minister to us according to whatever our particular needs are. And of course, we gather in the Spirit of the living Jesus, who taught us when he was on earth to pray to you as our mother and as our Father, who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Thank you. You may be seated.
Oh, so nice to be back. See everybody. Thank you. Any great celebrations to share today? Any birthdays? Anniversaries? Okay. My running shoes on.
My grandson Adam will be 12 today, and we're having a celebration.
Happy birthday to Adam. That's great.
Well, hot off the press. Next newsletter is out. Next one won't be coming till December, so don't forget to take it today, because next Sunday is the Western Fair Sunday and Barbecue, and we need as many people as possible to take their copy for free. You can knock it, put it in somebody's box. You don't even have to knock on the door. Just take it and run if you want. But we really need them delivered. During the summer, our money coming into the church always goes down because we don't have as many people, but we still have to pay our bills. So it could cost $70, $80 to mail what's on the table there. So please help us out.
Thanks, Bonnie.
I love the cover. Impossible is just an opinion, and it's got a sunflower growing out of a cement wall. That's it. That's what we're talking about, people. Excuse me, sorry.
We have two guests visiting with us today. Mr. Nelson is here to stay in Canada. He comes from Liberia. And we have Dixon, who came to visit Canada. So they are here with us today.
Thank you and welcome.
My good girlfriend lost her mother on Friday to died in the hospital.
Any others? Oh, over there, Paul.
I've been speaking to everybody about little area. Last Sunday, I had asked y'all to give a prayer for her. And little area has now come through the surgery. She's out of critical care. She had her breathing, it's still a little bit affected, but not as bad. So she's now on a regular wing. A surgery that was only supposed to last 10 days for her has now gone to 14 days. So they're still at the Ronald McDonald House, the family, and we would like you to continue to pray for her because it's actually working. I believe in the prayers.
Thank you. Any other news to share this morning? Okay, let's see.
I want to welcome Diana. We connected on social media, and so I'm really excited that she's out at Trinity. And so let's all give Diana a welcome, warm welcome. And I'm also asking for prayers for the Lee family. the little boy, Alex, died on Tuesday on the first day of school, and very tragic. So I'm just asking everybody to keep their family. And I've known Alex since he was a baby, so this is really difficult. So, and can I do an announcement now? Yeah, okay. We are selling a quilt, doing a quilt raffle. There's pictures up. It's a beautiful quilt. And we have posters up with the information. Now, I think we said we were doing the draw on the posters. I think it says the 28th of September at our Harvest Feast. However, it's going to be on Thanksgiving Sunday because we've had some little red tape stuff that we've had to deal with the city. So we're having it on Thanksgiving Sunday after church. So I'm hoping that to have tickets next Sunday, and I hope everybody will buy some tickets.
And,
Nancy.
oh, right here, Joanne. Yeah.
I'm gonna come around.
Hi, I'd like to introduce myself in case you don't know my name. I'm Joanne. And Kathy, will you stand up too? And this is Kathy Beckett. And you've seen our names if you've been reading the bulletin, where we, the two of us and Paul, are putting together the group that's starting Tuesday evenings, September 24th. And I just want you to know who we are. So if you have questions, you can come and you can talk to us and find out more about it. We would love it if you could come and join us for some fun discussions and some learning. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'd like to put out a thank you. If anybody's seen the newsletter already, Nancy and Jack came all the way down to Nova Scotia to see us. At least that's what they said. And after our performance, they packed up and they went home. So I'd really like to thank them for making our trip down there and our show really memorable by seeing you folks and having you over to the house. It was just amazing. Thanks, Nancy and Jack.
All right, so last week I had a chance to mention to you that in October 1st to 5th, we are going to be doing a pictorial directory. Thank you. I will get this by the end of this. Anyways, I also mentioned that we're going to start taking appointments for that time. Today, Tegan and I are going to be in that back corner after church. And I found my last one. So you will also have a chance to see what we're talking about. Beautiful picture of me, a few years younger. And then if you would like to leave addresses, some people don't, but if you do, we would love to have that information. So if you want to get in touch with you, or you want to get in touch with one of us, that would be great. Again, it's a free service. You get a lovely picture as well to take home with you afterwards. See me and take it at the back after church.
And the mailing list is just for us. It doesn't go to, it's not sold to any other company. So Tuesday night is our men's circle, and I'm calling it Connecting the Dots. So we can share different parts of our lives, see how spirits at work encourage one another. That's at 7 o'clock. Next Sunday is going to be a treat. It's our Western Fair Sunday. We celebrate harvest time, the miracle of how God works through in nature, feeding us. And we're going to have Nora Galloway and the Tearjerkers here. So dress up in your country duds, and let's have a good time. And Nora has been inducted into the London Music Hall of Fame. And she hasn't been here for a while, so we're going to really enjoy them. And then get your tickets from Gary and Kitty, sorry. And for the harvest meal. We're having our harvest feast the last Saturday of the month. And Nora and the Tearjerkers are going to be playing at that. So you get a taste of her next Sunday and then doubly want to come. So we're going to have a great buffet and feed you well and have a great time and raise some money to pay the bills so that we can have a ministry here that's just affecting so many lives, a place where people can connect whatever their belief system, as long as their value system is about kindness, respect, and fairness. They'll find this a safe place, and it means so much to so many people. We're going to move into our time of offering now.
I got one little announcement.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to put out there that the Ladies' Circle will be resuming, and we're going to meet the first Monday of October. I believe we're going to meet here in the sanctuary for this particular meeting. So all are welcome. And come on out and see what we're all about. If you're kind of new to Trinity, come get acquainted with us. And we spend some time exploring Scripture and exploring life today as it relates to the Scripture reading. And we do some deep sharing, so I look forward to that. That's the first Monday. This is just a pre-announcement, and you'll start seeing it in your bulletin soon. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed days and dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Let's all stand and join in our offertory prayer as we offer not only these gifts of money, but the gift of our daily lives and the choices we make. What can I do?
What can I bring?
What can I bring?
What can I say? What can I say? I'll sing with joy. I'll say a prayer. I'll bring my love. I'll do my share. What can I do? What can I bring? What can I say? What can I say? I'll sing with joy. I'll say a prayer. I'll bring my love. I'll do my share.
And the people of God said, Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. And now, an ancient poem attributed to David. The heavens reveal the glory and presence of God. The skies proclaim the works of God's hands. Day after day they pour forth speech, and night after night they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out to all the earth, their words to the ends of the worlds. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. More precious than gold, sweeter than honey. In keeping them is great reward. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. and may we develop ears to hear the divine wisdom Mother Nature offers us every day. Amen. All right, we got some children around here. Yay! A big clap hand for the children. I just want you to know we do not have as much fun around here when you're not here. We don't have as much fun around here when you're not here. Now, are any of you going to school? You're going to school. Are you going to school? Of course you are. That's exciting. Are you in school yet? Of course you are. Are you? Cool. So here's the question for you. Oh my goodness, Bishop. I almost stepped on your toe there, buddy. Are you in school? But you're doing it. Okay, good. I know. Well, man, your mom, hey? She's got tricks up her sleeve. Yeah, she's quite a teacher. So here's my question. Is there anything you've learned at school yet? Is there anything you've learned from anything you heard your teacher or somebody else say that was really interesting? Have any of you learned anything at school yet? Yes, what? Being kind. Oh, wow, they're talking about kindness in your school. That's a great thing. How about the rest? Have you learned anything in school yet? You gotta listen. Yeah, they're teaching you to listen, eh? That's what our scripture reading today, it said listen. You know what it said to listen to? Listen to nature. I hope you'll have some chances to be in nature. Have any of you ever hugged a tree? I want to find a nice tree and hug it and listen to it. And you just might be surprised at how you feel. Because it's alive. And it's got God in it, just like we've got God in us. We're a part of God. We're a part of nature. We're all connected, and that's very exciting. And you know, one of the things I get excited about is food. Do you guys like food? And food comes from nature. You know, we get it in the grocery stores, but people actually grow it in the earth. You know that? What do we got up here? Slide. Oh, now at my other church we have a little garden. And some of the different families have a little plot. And so there's a little gal who got some stuff out of the garden. She's chewing on a bean there. All right, slide. And there's part of the garden, slide. And those are some vegetables that came out of the garden. So isn't it amazing that you plant a seed in the ground, and then the rain comes and the sun comes, and that seed grows up into cool things to eat. What's your favorite vegetable? Is there no such thing as a favorite vegetable? Fruit. Yeah, I'm with you. Strawberries. Right on. We like the sugar. What's your favorite fruit or vegetable? How about you? Watermelon. Ooh, that's good. Anybody else? What's your favorite fruit or vegetable? Maybe Mom can translate. Don't have one? Likes them all? Anybody else? Broccoli. I like broccoli too. Yeah, some people don't. You like broccoli? Cool, cool. The trick is not to overcook it and not to undercook it. Yes? There you go. Yeah, that's all good stuff. But you know what? One of the most healthy things we can do is to pay attention to Mother Nature and our food and the trees and to look at the stars at night, because that just lets us know we are a part of this amazing, loving God who's always at work in us and others in creation to care for us. And when we get disconnected from nature and we get just thinking about ourselves, we get anxious and we get uptight. And so we want to remember that nature cares for us like a mother because she's a part of God's hand. And so that's what we give thanks for today. So we're going to sing a chorus that talks about that. I need somebody to help me with the chorus. Well, you know, Tay, normally I'd get Madison because she's more of an extrovert than you. but you're a trooper. So come on up here. We're gonna do, let's all stand. And where's Kathy? Kathy can help too. Come on right up here. There we go. So there's actions for all of us. This isn't just for the kids. And it's a song that says, God's Not Dead. We're gonna do it in the key of D. Key of D. D is in dog. Okay. So we start off with clapping. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. I feel it all over me. Where do you feel it? I feel it in my hands. I feel it in my feet. I feel it in the air. I feel it everywhere. I feel it in the church. I feel it on the street. I feel it all over me. Tell somebody. No, 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 no. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. I feel it all over me. Where do you feel it? I feel it in the hands. I feel it in my feet. I feel it in the air. I feel it everywhere. I feel it in the church. I feel it in the street. I feel it all over me. Tell somebody. No, 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 God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. God's not dead. She is alive. I feel it all over me. All right, children, blessings on you as you go to your Sunday camp. Let's sing them out. You can be seated. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. I feel it all over me. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. God's not dead. She is alive. I feel it all over me. All right. Let's do it in C. Who made the mountains? Who made the trees? Who made the rivers flow to the sea? Who hung the moon in the starry sky? As somebody bigger than you and I. Who made the flowers to bloom in spring? Who writes the song for the robins to sing? And who sets the rain when the earth is dry? Somebody bigger than you and I. He lights the way when the road is long and keeps you company. With love to guide you, he walks beside you, just like he walks with me. When I am weary, filled with despair, who gives me courage to go on from there? Who gives me faith that will never die? Somebody bigger than you and I. Please pray with me. Pray from our Psalms. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. May only truth be spoken, may only truth be heard. May we have ears to hear your wisdom. Amen. Well, there's a seismic shift going on in the world. It's not the first time, but we're into a major seismic shift that involves nature like hasn't happened since the 14th century. And we're experiencing a real shift and a new understanding of spirituality, of Christian spirituality, and a new understanding of nature and our connection with nature. We all have a spirituality. Our spirituality are the stories that we create. You say, I don't create stories. Yeah, we create stories all the time. Everything you say about who you are, about what nature is, about God and your connection with God or not connection, all these are stories we create, and they determine our spirituality. And we are in the process of a lot of changes in our story. Before the Black Plague in Europe in the 14th century, the predominant story of Christian people was an integration of Aboriginal cultures, which we sometimes call paganism, and the stories of Jesus. They didn't view them as separate or competing. In that earlier hymn that we sang from the Dakota people, I mean, it fits perfectly with our theology, but they were singing it long before they heard the stories of Jesus. And so in the first 1,000 years of Christianity, and going back into the Jewish times where Christianity comes from, they understood that God is not a being. God is a force that is in everything and everywhere. Now, most other religions in the world thought of God as a being. So you had these different gods. You know, you had Zeus, the god of war, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love and fertility and beauty. And it's natural that as beings, we think of God as a being. Elephants and whales are sentient beings. They are highly evolved, highly intelligent, and they seem to have a moral code. They sacrifice for others. They establish lifelong relationships. They grieve and mourn the death of a loved one. They may well have developed an awareness of the mystery of life we call God. But if they have, whales will think of God as a super whale. And elephants will think of God as a super elephant. Just as most humans have thought of God as a super person, especially since the 14th century, and in the non-Jewish cultures. The Jews began to understand that idols made no sense. God's there too. Yeah, God's speaking to us there. It's all good. The great discovery of the Jewish people is that God's not a being. God is spirit. And you can't make idols out of things. That's why they didn't even want to say the name of God. And their most sacred name for God was breathing. Why breathing? Because breathing's spirit. What does the psalmist say? Where can I go from your presence, God? If I ascend to the heavens, you're there. If I'm in the grave, you're there. And our passage today, the heavens declare the glory of God. The Jewish leaders Jesus clashed with had forgotten that. What was Jesus always fighting with his fellow leaders about? They wanted to make their rules and their rituals the God, the idol. But he would just say to them, love covers all that, baby. Because love is spirit. Jesus said, God is not to be worshipped as a being. What did he say? We worship in spirit and in truth. Everything that exists that is true is divine. and we worship in spirit and in truth. In 1 John we read that if we love our brothers and sisters, we know God. You know, people always say, I don't know where God is. Because we were given this thing that God's some strange thing that we got to access in some way. Whereas John said, you love your brothers and sisters, you know God. If you don't love other people, you don't know God. That's why our relationships are so critical. We can create stories. Oh, I do this, I do that. I believe this. I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. You know what Dr. Phil says? Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? If you want to be happy, we got to tend to our relationships and live in love. Because 1 John says, if we love, we know God and will see God. No doctrine there. Love. Spirit. And Mother Nature is a part of God's love. But as Christianity developed, there were some theologians. I'll give you two names, Augustine and Abelard. And because of their own unresolved anger and sexual guilt, they made up a horrible, terrible, ugly story. Their horrible, terrible, ugly story was that God actually was angry at us. That because Adam and Eve ate from the tree they weren't supposed to eat from, we were all cursed, and nature was cursed, and we're born in sin. And unless we deal with that, we're not going to go to heaven. An awful story. And what a puny God they make God into. Can you imagine? You know, we tell our kids, oh, don't eat that. They eat it, and then we curse them forever and all their kids forever. I mean, give me a break. And it didn't catch on. Christians didn't believe that. Most theologians didn't believe that until the 14th century. What happened? In the 14th century, 1 out of 3 of every person in Europe, every loved one died. You want to talk about post-traumatic stress? 1/3 died. And the Vatican was able to use that trauma to say, see, nature's cursed. You're cursed. You're under the curse of sin unless you get saved. And that became the predominant story of Christianity from the 14th century forward. And unfortunately, in most churches in the world today, they're still functioning with that dysfunctional story. You Google Christianity and read what it says, it's going to say a version of that. It's so sad. And we've lost our sense of the divine. And so we go around wondering where God is when we're a part of that mystery. I often would love to just go back in the earlier times when they grew up with a sense that the divine was everywhere. Everything was divine. They didn't make a distinction between divine and natural because everything was supernatural to them. Everything was divine. Everything was mystical. Everything was filled with God. That's what the mystics were all about. But we lost that. And we lost seeing nature as our mother and as our friend, and nature became a cursed problem to be solved. And then with the advent of science, science didn't see nature as a beautiful thing to teach them. It saw nature as a problem to be solved, to be managed, to be tamed. And so here we are still trying to do that while we kill Mother Earth and kill ourselves. No, nature was to be understood as God's presence. The heavens reveal the glories of God, the presence of God. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they declare knowledge. In our economic system, which is a product of that same story, our economic system, our fundamental approach to technology, all comes from our spirituality, that shift in our spirituality in the 14th century. Our economic system, get this, these are basics we got to get. Our economic system does not ascribe $1 of value to nature unless we cut it down, mess it up, and monkey with it. The Amazon forests are burning, right? Our economic system in the world does not ascribe 1 cent of value to leaving the Amazon forest alone so that they can feed us oxygen. Money has to transfer from hand to hand for it to show up on a balance sheet as part of the gross domestic product. So unless we cut forests down and plant farms or graze cattle, they're worthless in our economic system. No wonder we're destroying Mother Nature. But Spirit is shifting things. Years from now, we're going to look at the way we treated Mother Nature as we look at slavery now. That's the good news. Spirit's at work. The billionaires of the future will be the ones who find ways to care for the earth and care for the land and care for the air. That will be the wealth of the future. And there will come a time when no politician will get elected who is not entirely behind caring for Mother Nature and treating her as the divine friend she is. Because that's what God's in the business of doing, saving us from ourselves, as God has always done. And so I'm glad to be a part of Mount Zion and Trinity and the United Church. We're the exception to the rule. We understand what the ancients did, what Jesus did, that we're all connected. We're all part of the divine. And that nature and God, it's all in us and through us. As Paul wrote, I love how he puts it, in God we live and move and have our being. You don't need to go looking for God. Look in the mirror at your best self. And so the question is, what are we doing in our spiritual life to bring out our best self? Because it's not about how smart we are. It's not about our doctrines. It's not even, Paul says, about what we do to sacrifice for others. It's about being our best selves in relation to one another and to Mother Nature. I was talking to a woman going through some deep, deep waters. A great woman, a great leader. And for the first time in her life, she's hit a wall of loss upon loss, and a daughter who's got cancer while pregnant, and it's just a mess, and she's collapsed for the first time in her life and just cries most of the day. And I said, that's not depression. I said, you got a lot to grieve. But I said, we can gird up the loins of our mind. And I said, are you watching the news? Yeah. I said, stop. If you've got any depression or anxiety in your life, stop watching the news. We come here to hear the good news because that's the real news. Now, yes, bad things happen, but we don't need to be reminded of it every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day. Because what the bad news that we hear on TV doesn't tell us, God's at work there. God's at work bringing people together, and those who die, they're welcomed into a whole new level of existence. God's at work. Storms don't last forever, but we've got to cut down on the forces that make us anxious and depressed and angry. I often get emails that are just usually a mixture of lies and a few little truths, and they're designed to make us angry and fearful. Anything that makes us angry and fearful is part of the evil energy. Some call Satan. And so what is it that brings the best out in you? I'll tell you something that I've been just feeling blessed by, and that's this gal, Bianca Andrescu. I mean, anything that makes me happy and feel inspired, I just want to soak it in. And I mentioned a few weeks ago how at the Rogers tournament, she was playing Serena, the top female player maybe of all time, and she had to withdraw, Serena did, and so Bianca won, and how gracious she was and caring for, and you couldn't write this stuff in a movie. And so now, she didn't even qualify for the U.S. Open Tennis Championship. It's the largest tennis championship in the world. This year, she qualified, she worked her way through, and guess who were the two finalists? Her and Serena. And she wins. The only Canadian to ever win that tournament, right? And she's so Canadian, right? What's the first thing she does when she wins? What? No, the first thing she did, we'll get to that. The first thing she did was thank God. She went like this. And then she went like this. She was exhausted. And then she goes up and she's having the big interview in front of all the people. And the interviewer says, "What was your main challenge today in the match?" She says, "It was the crowd. They all love Serena." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry about breaking your expectations of her winning." Something like that, right? But she said, "I'm glad I won." But, that's inspiring. What is it that inspires you? Like, today we've got so much inspiring stuff available to us. Movies that inspire us. I mean, nothing like a great movie with a great story. Sometimes they're based on a real life thing that inspires. You know what inspires me too? Are these documentaries on nature. Not the ones talking about all the problems, we know about that, but the ones that talk about how nature functions. It blows my mind. And then when I realize I'm a part of that, I start to chill. When we think we're better than nature, when we think we can control nature, we lose our main support. We divorce ourselves from our mother. No wonder we're all going sick in this Western culture where we're just so removed from nature. She's our mother. And when we discover how amazing she is, we start to relax. Our blood pressure goes down. Prayer for me is not primarily telling God what I want and what I need. It's contemplation. Prayer is contemplating the beauty of life, how God's been with me in the past, the grace of God I've received. And I begin to realize I don't have to figure things out for things to work out. When we think it's all about us and we can't depend on nature, then we think we've got to figure things out. What an illusion. Man, we can rest in that love that's given to us so many ways each and every day. So let's focus on what makes us better. Be a part of a small group, especially if you're newer here. Find a way to volunteer, talk to Nancy or me. You'll get to know folks then. And in our groups, we get to know each other at a personal level. I want to get to know more of you guys at a deeper level. I know guys, it'd be better if we did a project together and we could talk while we were doing it. But unless somebody comes up with a project, that's not my thing. But I'll be part of it if you want to get a project where we can do something physical and be more relaxed as we talk to each other. But if you got the courage, come out to the men's circle. Come out to the Connect the Dots. And let's deepen. Let's see how Spirit is with us in everything and encourage one another and learn from one another. So what is it that brings the best out of you? Pay attention to that. And the more we reconnect with what brings the good out in us, the stronger our sense of God will be. And the greater our faith will be, the more hope we'll have, and our capacity to love will grow. I close with a wonderful story about the child of a rabbi who loved to wander in the woods. I used to wander in the woods when I was a kid. Point Pleasant Park. And if I didn't get there, I'd go in the cemetery around the corner. I loved being in the cemetery. I had all these trees. It was quiet. I just, sometimes I'd hug a tree. Anyway, this kid, he loved being in the woods. His dad said, "Oh, that's cool." But his dad started to get concerned because the kid would go in the woods every day. And his dad said to him, the woods are a bit dangerous. And so he said, "How come you go there all the time?" And the boy said to his father, "I go there to find God." And his father, a rabbi, said gently, "Well, that's great. I'm glad you're searching for God. But don't you know that God is the same everywhere?" "Yes," the boy answered, "but I'm not." If we watch the right things, if we connect to the right things, we'll be the better for it. Everything we focus on picks us up or drags us down. So let us find our places, to walk in the woods, as it were. Because while God is everywhere, and God is the same everywhere for us, we need to find a way we channel that gift. The heavens reveal the glory of God, the presence of God in the skies proclaim the work of God's hands. May we make space in our lives for the things that fill us with thanksgiving, wonder, awe, and the capacity to love one another. Amen. And so the gift of worship, the gift of prayer is letting go of our burdens, entering that presence of love and grace, and opening our spirits to that wisdom God's placed within us. How are our relationships? Is the communication there? Is the respect there? Oh, we fool ourselves that other things are more important, but nothing's more important than how we relate to others. And as we contemplate the miracles of life, as we're moved to awe by our encounter with life and its beauty and its goodness, we begin to relax. We begin to let go and let God. We begin to create a new story of how we're a part of God. God's not just outside us, God's inside us. God's that spirit that's created us, that makes us and is continuing to create us. And so in our prayer time, we sing with the psalmist, be still. Be still. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted in the nations of the earth. Be still and know that I am God. What do we need today? Let's give ourselves permission to receive it. Do we need forgiveness? Do we need a new direction? Do we need reassurance? Be still, be still, be still and know that I am God. I am exalted in the nations of the earth. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted in the nations of the earth. Be still and know that I am God. Oh, Spirit, give us a new story and a new song. Not of us as lost and wandering apart from you, but a story that we are yours. A story that we are made in your image. A story that when we go wandering off, you come and find us. We don't have to search for you, you're searching for us. Help us to find that story that enables us to rest in your grace. It's not our intelligence, it's not our execution, it's not our hard work that ultimately gets us over the finish line. Yes, we need hard work, but it's the grace. We do the best we can and then trust you with the rest. And so we trust you. You are flesh of our flesh, bone of our bone, spirit of our spirit. You anoint us, and so we anoint you. And we give thanks that as we leave here today, our focus will be clearer, our burdens will be lighter, our faith will be stronger, our hope will be brighter, and our love will be greater. Amen. Our final hymn is a grand old hymn, a favorite. And again, experiencing God as the Good Shepherd, as that one who cares for the sheep. Let's stand and sing it together. The Lord's my shepherd. Timothy, gird up the loins of our minds to focus on that which edifies, to listen to the speech and wisdom Mother Nature is pouring out to us, and take with you the blessing of the source of it all we call God, that spirit and power in Jesus Christ revealed in human form, and the same power in us, the very Spirit of God, this day and every day of our lives, world without end. Amen. And so we sing together, joy in thy heart, peace be in thy spirit, compassion